What's up, fellas? Today we're going to be doing an early game tutorial for Bellwright. This is mostly going to cover the early game frustrations that I had when I first started. And I'm going to talk about where some of these basic resources come from, like wood and stone, flax, hemp, river reed, then like what they kind of build into. And yeah, just that's pretty much it. Also, a couple of key pieces of equipment that I really enjoyed using while leveling up, like the short bow and the rondel and the shield. So, to get into it, wood comes from two places in the early game. Wood comes from these young trees, and it comes from dead wood off the ground. You can find dead wood off the ground in these like densely forested areas, sometimes outside of that too. And then young trees you find all over the place too. They're like these skinny looking ones. You can't chop down regular trees looking for wood. You're only going to get logs chopping these down. And then stone you can find on the ground. You don't want those big rocks of stone though. You want ones you can pick up. Stone you can find all over the place on the ground. Specifically on these like rocky outcroppings. You're going to find stone as well as loose copper ore and loose tin ore. So those are like the two most basic resources. You're going to take those and you're going to combine them to build your first simple axe. And when you get your first simple axe, gathering these young trees are going to be a lot easier. All right, so we covered those two. We're going to jump down to like flax and river reed and hemp now. So flax you're going to find in big, wide open fields like the one I'm currently in. This area is a perfect spot for flax. Flax is used to be refined into a couple different things. I'll have a little like flow chart on the side here. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what flax refines into. I know it's used for making rope, and I know it's used for making linen. I think it's also used for simple cord. I'm not sure. But yeah, you'll find tons of flax in this field just south of Herondine. Hemp is kind of harder to see. We ran over a little bit over here. Typically, I find hemp just in clusters, sometimes near trees. It's usually near trees. So we have a cluster here, a cluster here. There's a cluster somewhere, yeah, right there, and I think there's a cluster up here. Those are like your close hemp sources. Hemp also is used for rope. And I don't know if it's used for much else right away. But I know it's used for rope. You will need some amount of hemp. Yeah, here we go. This is what it is. Now, we're going to skip over sage. We don't really need sage right away unless you're going to do stuff in the cauldron. So we got hemp. We got flax. Let's talk about river reed. River reed is going to be found in two locations primarily early on. You're going to find it east of Padstow. There's these little clusters of river reed pretty much near any body of water. And then you're going to find a cluster, along this river here. You got tons of river reed patches, and it goes all the way around. And then along this river as well. And river reed you need for making simple arrows. You also need it to make, you combine it with linen. Or no, you combine river reed and flax to make linen, and linen goes into your cloth quiver. So... And you want the cloth quiver because it gives you an extra slot here so you can store 30 arrows in it so it doesn't take up a giant chunk of your inventory space. All right, real quickly, I'll cover copper ore and tin ore. So copper ore, you're going to be finding it around rocky outcrops. So east side of the map for copper ore, east of Herondine. And northeast of Padstow, you'll find tin ore, these big clusters. You can find some loose copper ore on the ground. But to get the majority of it, you're going to be mining it with a simple pickaxe from the mining camp on this east side of the tree here. All right. So for the next part, next section, we talked about the raw resources. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the buildings I prioritize whenever I start a new playthrough. Pretty much every time, the first thing I do is I research the logging camp after you get your small trap and you do that first quest or two. I'll go for the logging camp, and then I go for the stockpile, because the stockpile storage is 400, It's like 8 times the small chest. I think the small chest is like 50. It might be 40 if that's the case, and it's 10 times. But yeah, so it's 8 times the storage. This is a lot of storage. It's pretty cheap. You can throw up a bunch of these. I'll throw up one for each resource. And then I get the travel sign. And travel signs are great. They allow you to teleport around. All right, you can go from here, right, to like Pad Stowe, like your home to Pad Stowe. And then you can go, you can do your selling. And then you go to Bradford or whatever. And then you can, go and TP to, Herondine and then come back home. And you can do that in, seconds, right? It's not like a loading screen. Everything is, instant. Travel signs cost renown, which in the early game is really the only downside, but I think a little bit of renown, I think it's 150 per. Yeah, 150 per to be able to instantaneously teleport around is huge. Okay. So that's the first set of buildings I get. I get the logging camp, the stockpile, and the travel sign. After that, I will go for the foraging camp, the mining camp, get the simple pickaxe. We get the weaver's loom, so we can research all these resources. And then we come back over here and, craft into them and whatnot. Get the bloomery, and then pick up, I don't remember if you need copper ingot or if you can just craft it right away. But I'll usually research the rondel. And I think that is it. Maybe the plank shield. Yeah, rondel, plank shield. I also get the warhammer. I personally use the warhammer. So what I've found is that whenever my companions use the warhammer or the battle axe or the mace, they don't perform as well as when they're using the rondel, the sax, the falchion, messer, so on and so forth. Weapons that have a thrust. Because for some reason, they always seem to hit with the hilt of the weapon rather than the actual tip of the weapon, which does the most damage. But yeah, hopefully this has been useful. This is pretty much a distillation of what I've picked up over the last 150 hours or so I played of this game. If you guys have any other suggestions for guides or stuff I could talk about, please leave them in the comments below. If you think I'm wrong or something, or think I missed something, maybe I should have talked about farming or something. I don't really think farming is like a super early game thing, but if you think I should have talked about something else, let me know. I am open to any suggestions and whatnot, and I'll see you guys next time.